We are seeing growing signs the Trump tariffs are already starting to take their toll in the US and China. So which of the world's two largest economies is better prepared to deal with the trade war? CNN's Kristie Lu Stout joins us now live from Hong Kong with some answers. Good to see you again, Kristie. So how much pain can the people of China handle in the event of a long tariff war with the US?
Rosemary, with the United States and China locking horns over tariffs, an economic pain war is underway. And experts say that China has the capacity to endure it. Watch this.
This will be a fast war.
The battle at Lake Changjin is one of China's biggest ever blockbusters. Commissioned by the Chinese government, it glorifies the Chinese soldiers who fought American troops in the Korean War. Fast forward to today, and China and the U.S. are locking horns in another epic battle.
China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them.
Be it a tariff war, a trade war, or any other type of war, we're ready to fight till the end.
Trump started this war with China, aiming in part to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. Chinese netizens mock the idea with AI-generated videos showing a post-tariffs world of dingy American factories with downcast workers. Decades of trade have brought bumper profits to both countries, and as U.S.-China trade withers, fortunes are turning. In the U.S., the price of goods could shoot up, fueling inflation and putting the U.S. at real risk of recession. And in China, a prolonged trade war could put countless factories out of business. The question is, how much pain can the people of China handle in the event of a long trade war with the U.S.?
I think the pain threshold is probably higher for Chinese society. The Chinese government, being an authoritarian government, may have its own advantage because it can more easily reallocate resources.
The Chinese have endured famine, the Cultural Revolution, and more recently, 3 years of strict COVID-19 lockdowns before protesters bravely took to the streets. And in this trade war, pain is already being felt. On social media, Chinese factory owners post images of their products piling up in warehouses, while workers show how machines and production lines have shut down. Despite a dire economic forecast, many patriotic entrepreneurs are standing firm.
Even if the tariffs increase to 500%, I'm not afraid. Please rest assured, we can hold on.
Stop all the orders. Stop all the export orders. I will not chicken out.
We can give up the U.S. market. I can let this batch of orders rot in the warehouse. We must give up illusions and prepare for struggle, for China.
In the battle at Lake Changjin, U.S. soldiers are seen gorging on Thanksgiving turkey, while Chinese troops chew frozen potatoes in the trenches. Yet, they still beat the Americans later. Trump's trade war pits the U.S. and China in a new challenge of resilience that's not about business or money. It's about honor and national pride. Look, China is putting on a brave face, but China is indeed starting to feel the pain from Donald Trump's tariff war. In fact, new economic data out this week on Wednesday said that for the month of April, factory activity in China has fallen faster than expected. On top of that, international banks have slashed growth forecasts for the year for China. China has also been dealing with a myriad of economic challenges at home, including high youth unemployment, rising local government debt, a prolonged property crisis, etc. But China, again, putting a brave face forward. We're seeing that with the new propaganda push out this week with social media videos saying that China, quote, won't kneel to U.S. tariffs. So China is digging in for a protracted and painful battle ahead. Rosemary.
Right. Our thanks to Kristie Lu Stout bringing us that incredible report there. Appreciate it.
Earlier, I spoke with Rana Fruha, CNN's global economic analyst and associate editor for the Financial Times. I asked her if there's any basis at all for blaming Joe Biden for this poor economic growth.
We came into this administration in the best recovery, post-COVID recovery in the rich world. I mean, people were dying to have our recovery. Within 100 days, President Trump has managed to turn it into what is almost certainly, by most Wall Street analysts' assumptions, going to be a recession by the second or third quarter of this year. Everything from the trade wars to the market crash to the general uncertainty of not knowing whether what you're hearing today is going to hold tomorrow has just put an absolute dampener on business, on trade, and on consumer spending. So hard to argue that this isn't about Trump.
Well, let's hear some alternative facts then from White House trade advisor Peter Navarro. Here he is.
This was the best negative print, as they say in the trade, for GDP I have ever seen in my life. It really should be very positive news for America.
All you have to do is strip out the negative effects from a surge in imports, click your heels 3 times, bada bing, bada boom, the US economy grew by 3%. You know, I don't think you get to take the bad numbers out, right, to get a better result. That's not how it works.
You know, a lot of people feel that the American economy and American society is becoming more like China, and Peter Navarro is going a fair way towards making that happen. Made up statistics. You know, John, I just don't know what to say. Can't make heads or tails of that.
And when it comes to possible shortages in stores because of the Trump's tariff-mageddon, as well as higher prices for US consumers, President Trump seemed kind of dismissive about all of that. Here he is.
Somebody said, oh, the shelves are going to be open. Well, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, you know? And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally.
There's a couple of things there, but I just want to get your reaction. Did that comment sound totally and completely out of touch to you?
It sounded flippant. It's Trump's take on something that has been said in more coherent ways by some others in the administration, and particularly in Trump 1. You know, Bob Lighthizer, the former USTR, was a big fan of, look, we don't need more cheap stuff. You can argue that. You can argue that, you know, we don't need $30 that are going to go into landfills. But I think what the president's doing there is a little bit disingenuous, because he's trying to sort of, with a wave of the hand, make light of something that really isn't going to be about dolls. It's going to be about cars and about factories and whether they can stay open and get their inputs. It's about rare earth minerals and whether we're going to be able to actually have a clean energy revolution in this country. So, you know, I think he's trying to have a little bit both ways there.
He did seem to acknowledge that prices are going up because of tariffs, and that does seem to be an achievement. But they're going up not by a couple of bucks, they're going up by a lot of bucks. And there also seems to be kind of a tacit acknowledgement, if you like, that things just aren't really going according to plan.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think that it's hard for the president at this stage to argue that, hey, it's all sunshine and roses. I mean, you know, we haven't had 100 days that's been this devastating for the market in, you know, almost 100 years. So I think he's trying to find some way to square this circle. But the truth of the matter is there's more pain coming. You know, tariffs take effect slowly, and we don't seem to have any clear deals in place. Whether or not that happens in the summer, who's to say? What we are seeing is hoarding, inventory hoarding, which has the effect of actually driving inflation up because people don't know if they're going to be able to get things tomorrow. And again, I think that you can see in the poll numbers that this president has got some of the worst numbers for a sitting president at this stage than we've seen in 100 years.